My name is Reets. Thank you for joining me for a cozy bedtime story. Tonight I'm going to read Thumbelina. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what story you would like to hear next. Sweet dreams! Once upon a time, there was a woman who wanted a child so badly she didn't know what to do. Eventually, she got desperate and decided to visit a witch who lived in the neighboring village. "I'd like a tiny daughter, please," the woman said. The witch handed her a seed. "Plant this and water it every day, but don't water it too much." The woman took the seed home, planted it, forgot the instructions, and only watered the seed once every 3 days. Eventually, the seed sprouted and a beautiful flower bloomed. Inside the petals sat a girl that was very tiny, much tinier than the woman had expected. In fact, she was so tiny she was only the size of the woman's thumb. She sat there in the flower, arms crossed, looking quite confused by her surroundings. "I'm Thumbelina," she said, "and before you ask, I don't know why I'm tiny. I'm not supposed to be this tiny." The woman gasped, but she was still overjoyed at her tiny daughter. She made Thumbelina a bed in a walnut shell, fed her little crumbs for dinner, and made sure that Thumbelina had everything a little girl could want. One night, a mother toad hopped through the window, took one look at sleeping Thumbelina, and immediately decided that Thumbelina should marry her son. She didn't ask Thumbelina about this. "She's perfect for my boy," the toad announced, to no one in particular, scooping up the entire walnut shell with Thumbelina inside it, and she hopped off into the night. Thumbelina woke up moving at high speed across the pond on a lily pad, which was a very startling way to start her morning. "Oh no," she said, sitting up. "What is happening? Whose idea was this?" "That's my son," said the toad proudly, pointing to a large silent toad sitting nearby who had said absolutely nothing and seemed unlikely to start. Thumbelina looked at him. He blinked. "How are you doing?" Thumbelina said. He blinked again. "He's not going to talk, is he?" The mama toad said. "He's shy." "Well, that's delightful," Thumbelina commented. She looked around at the lily pad, the pond, and tried to think of an escape plan. Luckily, some fish nearby had been listening, and they found the whole arranged marriage via kidnapping thing quite disturbing. So they gnawed through the lily pad's stem, and Thumbelina went drifting off downstream, the toad family yelling behind her, but the sun still said nothing. A friendly butterfly hopped down beside her on the raft. "Need a tow?" Desperately. So the butterfly pulled her safely to shore, where Thumbelina thought the worst must be over. It was not. A beetle spotted her, and he thought that she was very pretty, and he swooped up to carry her into a tree and show all of his beetle friends. "She doesn't have wings," one beetle pointed out. "She doesn't have antennae either," said another beetle. "Honestly," said a third beetle, "she's a little strange looking." Thumbelina, hanging mid-air in a beetle's grip, had had enough. "You know what? Please put me down," she said. "I would really like to leave now." The beetles, mildly embarrassed, set her down on a leaf and flew off to go cause trouble somewhere else. So now Thumbelina was all alone in the forest by herself. She built herself a tiny shelter out of leaves. She figured out which berries wouldn't kill her. She learned how not to panic every time she heard a strange noise. She actually had a nice little summer camping outside. but she knew it would get cold soon, and she would not be able to survive outside in the winter. By the time the first frost hit, she knocked, half frozen, on the door of a field mouse who lived underground in a surprisingly well-organized burrow. "You must stay," said the mouse, "if you're tidy, quiet, and willing to listen to my friend talk about himself for several hours at a time." "I don't mind that one bit," said Thumbelina. The friend turned out to be a wealthy, very dramatic mole who lived next door and immediately decided that Thumbelina should marry him. "I have many tunnels," he told her, "dark ones. I never go outside. The sun is loud and unnecessary." Thumbelina thought that the mole's attitude and opinions were very odd. One day, while exploring the mole's tunnels, against her will, mostly to be polite, Thumbelina found a swallow lying frozen and still on the tunnel floor. She pressed her ear to its chest. A heartbeat, faint but there. All winter, in secret, she nursed the bird back to health, feeding it, warming it, talking to it, even though it couldn't yet respond. Finally, after a very long winter, the warm breeze arrived. Flowers started to bloom, the birds started to chirp. One morning, Thumbelina was hiding from the mole and had taken shelter next to where the swallow lay. Then the swallow opened his eyes and started to get up. Thumbelina was thrilled. "You saved my life," the swallow chirped. "You're welcome," said Thumbelina. Later that evening, the mole officially proposed to Thumbelina. "You'll live underground," he said, "forever, with me and my tunnels." Thumbelina looked at the dark hallway stretching endlessly behind him. Then she thought about the sky that she hadn't seen in months. She felt her heart drop. "I need to think about it," she said. That night, the swallow, fully healed now, wings strong, found her packing her tiny bag. "Come with me," the swallow said. "You can ride on my back. I'm flying south. There's a place, warm, full of flowers the size of houses, sunlight all day. You don't have to marry a mole who's never seen the sky." Thumbelina was so grateful to the sparrow. She had been nervous about living outside by herself again. The swallow was her little hero. So she climbed onto the swallow's back, and they flew up and out of the tunnel, over forests, over fields, all the way to a warm and brilliant country, full of flowers in every color. The swallow set her gently down inside the largest, most beautiful flower in the whole meadow. And there, sitting on a petal, was a boy her exact size. No taller, no shorter, just the size of a human's thumb. He had kind eyes and a crown made of something that looked suspiciously like dandelion fluff and sunlight. "You're the same size as me," he said, sounding genuinely amazed. "You're not supposed to comment on a lady's size," said Thumbelina. "In my defense, it's usually the first thing people say about me," said the prince. He was the prince of the flower people, actual tiny humans, an entire kingdom of them living among the blossoms. The only difference between Thumbelina and these tiny people was that they had wings. She didn't. But then the prince gave Thumbelina wings of her own, gossamer and light, so she'd be safe the next time a beetle or a toad or a mole tried to carry her away. When summer was over and winter was about to return, the prince asked her to marry him and become the princess of the flower people. Thumbelina said yes. The sparrow took an invitation to Thumbelina's mother and the kind field mouse. They both traveled to the land of the tiny people for their wedding. Thumbelina and the prince had a beautiful wedding with all their friends under the flowers, and they lived happily ever after. The end, and sweet dreams.